Hey guys, this is Elliot again. This time I'm chatting with Nia Burks from the Pole Studio Butter and Filth. So thanks for chatting with me today.
Hey, thanks.
I always like to start off and know a little bit about our hero's story. So how exactly did you get into pole before I even start asking about the name of your pole studio?
I got into pole in 2001, almost 20 years ago. My intro into pole dancing, the first time I ever touched a pole, was a 50 millimeter pipe that was spray painted pink at a strip club. That's the first experience on pole I ever had. And I
Oh,
stayed there. I was in clubs for about 10 years and then transitioned to studios almost 10 years ago.
okay. And you mentioned what part of what your day job is. You work over at a nearby college,
I do, yes.
correct?
So my day job, I run Butter and Filth full time, and I also am an art professor at a university.
Oh wow. Okay. So you're that. It seems like you're a very creative person and you just kind of ran with it and just like I like moving and I like art and I don't see why I have to do I like pick between the two and you just kind of
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. I'm super lucky. I get to do it all.
yeah. And especially since you said hey I do my studio full time and I know that college jobs tend to not necessarily be negligible amounts of time either. So it also seems that you're a very driven person.
Yeah, yeah. I also have a manager at the studio as well, but in general, I think my work week is averaging in the 85 to 90 hour a week. Um,
Yep.
I have more energy than any human being alive. I think that's
Oh
or
wow.
something. Maybe I don't know if it's energy or I don't know what it is, but I have it.
I know what you mean. There are times where it's like 8 p.m., 9 p.m., and my lady Destiny, she's the writer over at PolePedia. She's like, hey, boy, because that's our nicknames for each other, boy and girl. She's like, boy, you need to chill down. Here, have a drink. We're gonna watch a movie. You need to stop. And then I pull out my phone. She goes, no, I'm stealing that.
Yes.
That. And I
Yeah.
just had a conversation with a friend earlier. I'm just like, I want some more projects. I'm feeling listless. And he's like, dude, you just told me you have 5 different projects. I'm like, yeah. So I'm ready for like a sixth, a seventh one. Come on, let's do it.
That is me. I have a ton of creative energy that
Mhm.
needs direction at all times. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And my business partners, they're always very solid. They give that kind of focus, but then so it goes like straightforward, then they stop and they're like, I don't know what to do. I'm just like, guys, like this. And then they just
Yeah.
run with it again. And it's so easy to me, but I just love thinking possibilities.
Yeah. Absolutely. Me too. I love it.
So we may have already half answered that, but okay. So people don't just randomly wake up and say, "I'm going to own a pole studio today." I think that's going to happen. So how did that transition happen from you're obviously a pole dancer and you enjoy it, more energy than any human being alive, straight to let's start transferring that to everybody else.
That's an interesting question. So I left clubs in 2010 and I started working in studios around I kind of started in 2011, but like I for real started I guess in 2012. It was a long training process because I was like the feral stripper in um land. So it took a long time for the first studio that I worked at to sort of train me. I have worked at, hold on, one, two, three. I worked at three different studios before I opened my own. And we opened in February 2018. So the way that I sort of got to my own studio is there's sort of a couple of factors. One factor is that because I think the drive and direction and creative energy that I think that maybe might make me a bad employee. So yeah,
Yeah, me too.
and so that I might be a bad employee. That might be true. So in fact, I know it's true. And
Unabashedly so. Like
yeah.
over just being like, I had a CEO. He's like, here, sign a contract. And it's like, no. He's like,
Oh, yeah.
well, you didn't even finish filling this out. Here, I took a red marker and I rewrote it. So try it again. Try to do this hiring thing, but better this time. Come on, guys.
Yeah. So I like my personality naturally. I have a lot of creative energy. I really like execution. I love being in charge. I like doing things my own way. Sometimes that works out very well in my favor, and other times it has burned me very badly. There's a light and a shadow to everything.
Of course.
And so I'm a bad employee. I think I mean, I'm a great employee, but I'm also, there's light and dark, right? Like I did really, really well working in studios until I wanted this one thing to be done my way, and then things would sort of crash and burn. So I kind of put myself in a position where I had to open my own studio. It was circumstance. It had to happen. Originally, how Butter and Filth specifically started was I was working with a collaborator, and at the time I was ending the school year at the university that I work at, and for anybody who's a teacher, that the thing that everybody says that's awesome about being a teacher is you get summers off. Well, so what that really means is you get summers off to worry about how to pay your rent and your cell phone bill. That's really what it means. Especially when you're an art teacher and you're an adjunct professor and you're working in that the higher education industry, right? Where I've been also for 10 years. And I love that job. I wouldn't give it up for the world. It's amazing and fulfilling. It does not pay. So originally, Butter and Filth started out with myself and a collaborator, and I got this wild idea. We were in a strip club, actually, as customers. We were hanging out with the girls, throwing some money, and with some friends. And I said, we should do this. And this was right at the end. We started this in April of 2017, when Exotic was just starting to ramp up in its energy, right, in the industry. And I've always done Exotic. I was the one doing Exotic in the pole competitions and things of that nature when everyone was doing modern, contemporary, and gymnastics pole. I've always stuck to my guns, maybe because I'm a one-trick pony and that's all I know how to do.
No.
So I said, people like us, let's go on a tour this summer. So we went on one tour, and then that turned into 2 tours, and then that turned into 3 tours. So we did 3 tours, sort of like as much of when I say across the United States as possible, as much as we could, as much as we were able, as much as our reach was letting us.
Yes.
We did that. That was fantastic. It was awesome. I really learned a lot more about studios because I had only worked in 3 at that point. And so I learned about many, many, many more, what they were doing, what I liked about it, what I didn't like, because I'm always thinking about that type of thing, right? Like I'm always like, what would I do differently? Because I'm the bad employee, right?
That's the game I play. I'm in a restaurant. It's like, if I had 10 grand and 3 days, and in 3 days I walk in here and it's mine, what would I change?
And this
all the time.
I'm always thinking like that. I'm always thinking like that. And so, and by and large, really, from doing all these tours, pole studios are awesome. Like, pole studios are awesome. And I loved everybody that we went and saw. It was a fantastic experience. But I'm a creative. So I'm like, what would I do? What would I do? So we ended up in a position where I was able to open a studio just by sort of circumstance,
Yes.
Like circumstances had lined up. I wasn't working for the studio that I was working for, and so I was like, all right, what do I do? I found this lease, this building that was going to get knocked down. They were like, hey, we'll give you a 9-month lease, but at the end of the 9 months, this building is being leveled. We're turning it into a Whole Foods, so you can have it for 9 months for like next to nothing in rent. And so I was like, done. And within 2 weeks, 14 days, my collaborator and I went from got the keys to this place to doors open. I mean, and I can show you the pictures. Like, we installed flooring, we got poles used, we were finding mirrors in alleyways. We sort of quilted them together on the walls and stuff like that. 14 days we didn't sleep. And so we had a studio opened in 14 days.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's just what I do. I mean, that's what I do. So 9 months went, 9 months in, we're at the location we are now. 9 months was perfect because I said, if this project fails, we close the doors and I can say I tried. Turns
That's right.
out we
Yeah,
were,
yeah. I always say go out there and suck and keep on sucking until the suck is gone. And there really isn't as much as you really think. Like with performing, the first few shows, I dropped everything. All the tricks went wrong, and I still got paid, and I still had fans and people saying, "Hey, that was great." And I'm just like, it absolutely sucked, but you're nice. But I could feel it getting easier
yeah,
every step of the way.
yep. Yep. So 9 months we closed our first location because that building was being leveled, just like right on schedule. And
It
we
was
planned
super
on,
awkward. It happened in the middle of the class, and the walls started falling
yeah,
down.
the walls started falling. It was tragic.
Yeah,
So
right. Half of us got out, so that's good.
the other half, I don't know, they're still there. But um, I found another building. It was massively more expensive. I got super scared, and what I love being scared. Being scared is
Yes.
I love being scared.
If
I
I'm
love
nervous,
it.
I say, "Well, now I've got to." Like it's more of an impetus of just like, "Hey, I don't." All right, this sounds funny to share again. Whenever I go to a new town, I always walk to town hall and say, "I'd like to meet the mayor," and legit just book some time with the mayor of whatever city I'm in because they're people, and I like to remind myself that they're just people. It's not like some
They are.
esoteric entity. It's like, who's this dude? How did he get here? What's going on? Yeah.
Go see the odds, man.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
See what's up. How did he get here? What's he doing now? What's he plan on doing? And how does he feel about all this?
Yeah.
Like not the good answers, but real answers. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, so 9 months in, I got my second location with my collaborator, and I was terrified, and I cried every single day for several months on end. And then before all this happened with coronavirus, we couldn't keep people out the door, and so
Oh
that's
wow.
so here I am. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, as it can show, I empathize a great deal with your story. I hit the circuit, and then I noticed that people were performers, and I didn't know much of anything. I knew how to juggle a little bit, like dad or not a little below creepy uncle juggling and magic tricks. But I was like, I'm gonna be on stage, and there are people with lots more experience than I. It's like, no, that's gonna take like years of training. It's like I give myself 1 year, and in 1 year, I was on stage as somebody's assistant, but I don't care. I was on stage. Check mark. I did it.
Live.
And
Live.
that's really it. Just be stubborn. Like being
Yeah.
stubborn. If I can tell anybody, being stubborn, the world will change around you. And much like Nia is saying, or my grandmother says, if you're born to be shot, you'll never be hung. If it's meant to happen, it is. Otherwise, this is just the adventure you get to have.
Right.
Yeah, isn't that a great phrase? If you're born
Yeah.
to be shot, you'll never be hung. So don't worry.
Be hung. It's so good. Yeah.
Well, that's so that's perfect. And from the sounds of it, it's really been very successful. Even with a more expensive studio.
I am extremely lucky. Yes. I'm
How exactly do you spread the word to other
we
people?
don't. Um,
Oh,
so it's funny. I have several business coaches, and I take many classes, just because I'm a sponge and I want to learn as much as possible.
oh yeah.
I have a lot of people that give me advice, and one of the things that they always talk about is advertising, and targeted ads and whatnot. And just before all of this happened, I had taken a class and was ready to sort of like implement my first targeted ad on Instagram and Facebook. But the honest truth is I have never once advertised ever.
Mm-hmm.
Ever. And we have sellout classes whose wait lists are the volume of the class. Like we have 12-person classes with 12-person wait lists sometimes, and I've never advertised. It's all word of mouth.
And a lot of your energy on positive comes out, and it just makes other people like, we can do this, which is beyond like a personality trait. It's a strength. Like you add that extra little je ne sais quoi that makes people want to do it. They want to believe in that.
Yeah.
From a marketing side, as I do a lot of online marketing, in that I'm a bad employee. Like I went from VA and I kept on complaining So like 3 months later, I was the chief growth officer of like the largest SEO company in the world. And then after that, I'm just like, I don't really like what you guys are doing or how you're going about doing it. So I think I'm going to leave. So that was my whole journey. It took like 6 months.
Wow.
But even with that, Destiny was and I were doing a lot of pole dance lessons at a local studio, and of course I'm curious and nosy. So I looked up like what are the metrics, like what are people searching for pole dancing, and this is before even PolePedia came about, and it's actually very difficult. Like when it comes from an SEO perspective, it's not, hey, what do you think people are going to type in? It's what are people actually typing in, and it's not worth the investment money from an SEO perspective. Now I say pause. I just mean like the top 10 listing. It's either going to be branded ads or pole studios near me, and you can win. Like those are easy wins. There are ways to do that. And you're saying, hey, it's going to be a fitness studio. You're not going to win. It'd be like me trying to outrank Udemy or Wikipedia or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's just this weird little spot. But then again, then you have the Google My Business, and that's right where you're going to find a massive amount of success. So if anybody's listening, set up your Google My Business as best as you can. Fill it out completely. There are extra tricks and tips.
I do, yeah, and I do have so I guess if I say I've never done like advertising or advertising and marketing are two different things, first of all. But like so but that aside, I have people who I go to for advice, and my SEO, I want to make sure that that's on point. I use H1 like with definite intention, like on my website and whatnot, and run and SEO reports as often as I can. So I do know that the content that's running in my website, like I know what I'm saying, and I know what I'm doing. But in terms of like running paid ads, like I think we're at the top of Google. I mean, we're at the top of my Google, but that's mine, because it's
right
for everybody. Google My Business was amazing. That we won a bunch of awards locally as well. We won best place to get your ass kicked in a good way. That's brought me a lot of attention.
That seems like the kind of award you would get.
Yeah, like I mean, that's what we do. Like I think the ass kicking comes more emotionally and mentally than it does physically at my studio in particular, with the direction that I'm interested in a pole studio going in. But yeah, it's
it makes sense. I'm the same way. I tell everybody, like, I'm very blunt. Like, if you hand me an SEO article, I'm just like, I really don't like this, and I'll be blunt about it. But no matter how strict I seem with other people, I hold myself to just those things. Like, it has to be on point. Like SEO content is like, yes, it has to be on point. And I'm happy. I love geeking out about SEO. I'll probably back away a little bit. Just everybody remember, it's a zero-sum game. So if your studio's not on the top or in the maps, then somebody else is going to be, and they're going to get a lot of the traffic. So you did it the exact correct way that I suggest to a lot of people. A lot of other people do paid ads, and that's going to be a bit more difficult. We've seen conversions being about 1/4 of what it would be in other industries.
I do have though I do have a pixel.
Oh, okay. That's for Facebook Pixel for targeting and lookalike audiences.
Yeah, I do have that as well. So that tells me I can be the wizard at that point.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, it's so, yeah. Once you get into marketing, you feel kind of creepy being able to spy on other people's sites, and you feel like, like you said, magic powers. Yeah. You get to be the wizard. So how exactly, then about 3-4 weeks ago, the Corona hit, we'll say.
Yes.
The Corona comet. What happened? How did that, I don't want to say how did that affect you, because I kind of want even before. You heard about Corona, and then you were, when did you hear about it? What steps did you take before you even, close your studio or move to the measures that you're taking now?
So, I think like so many people, I follow the news. I knew about it in China I did not know that the first confirmed case in the United States was back in November. That I didn't know. This sort of popped up on my radar around the end of January, I would say. And then, as it sort of gained momentum, I'll be completely honest with you. My initial thought was like, certainly this is
Yeah.
nah, like, nah. And so, yeah, that it sort of took me by surprise. It completely took me by surprise. It came up fast. I recall, and this has been going on, I guess, really 2 weeks now. I think I closed my studio March 18th or something. I think I don't remember. 16th?
Around 9 days, so about a week.
Right around mid-March. So by the time Virginia, if in fact we get off of our sort of stay-at-home executive order, that would put me at 6 weeks of closure. But what did I do? To be completely honest, I did nothing because I didn't. I was like, this is speculative fiction, just playing itself out. Like this is like every sci-fi thing ever, and I could not fathom that it would get that I would be alive to witness something like this happen globally.
I agree. The way I allude to it, and after talking to you, you also think in pictures and scenarios, and like we were joking about the building falling down on people. I say, hey, think of it like the zombie apocalypse. Like you touch somebody and you've bitten them, and this is kind of the way that Corona ends up doing. The other joke I make is think of Kevin Bacon, and it's all of our jobs to protect Kevin Bacon from being infected, and we're all 6 degrees away from him. So it's
right.
I go and I high five you, you high five somebody else. That person works at a hospital. You've hit a bunch of people, and we really need to be careful about that. I know that some people have created isolation groups where they don't speak or hang out with people outside of this group so they can maintain a certain modicum of socialization. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, all you have to do is wash your hands. I'm just like, well, don't go around and licking doorknobs, or at least make them brass doorknobs. Then it's a little better and a little safer. Yesterday, I was speaking to a tattoo artist. I was doing an interview, and he talked about the sheer amount of alcohol he's been going through and how he only has some regulars that are part of his isolation group. And even then, he's taking money and spreading it out to other tattoo shops who are walk-in shops and don't do only online appointments like he does.
Yeah.
So, knowing a little bit more about your indomitable personality, so you have to close, and 30 seconds later, what did you do?
30 seconds later, I met with my staff on Zoom to see who of them were interested in converting their offerings, their classes, our classes at Butter and Filth to online. This was good because one of the people that I go to, my web designer actually, who's a client of mine and a good friend, and also a genius digital strategist, she and I have been talking about ways to put Butter and Filth online and international for about 6 months. So a lot of research and a lot of work had already been done in terms of creating online protocols, how to carry branding through the online experience for the client. All of this work had been done. It was so I was able to, aside from getting my instructor schedules, of course, which takes a little bit more time, getting scheduling straight and doing personnel type of things. I had everything up and running in about 4 hours, top to bottom.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And my background, I do teach art, but it's specifically video, sound, and web. So I have an established knowledge and understanding of that, and I also have I'm really particular about my branding. So that has been something that's already been part of the conversation that I was having with myself 6 months ago. So what I would have liked to have done was have even tighter branding protocols. But here we are, you know, like
Right.
I wanted better mics. I wanted all of these things, but you know, we were ready to go. I was ready to go in about 4 hours. I think between personnel and sort of coordinating things with my staff and all of that thing, I think within 4 days, like total. Yeah.
That sounds about right. I was meaning to start interviews and start talking to people, and it took me about 3 days to go from not having that to having a very large and very filled email list and starting to schedule these interviews. Like one person even said, "Hey, so how many are you going to do?" And I was like, "All of them." And they said, "Yeah, but are you going to parse them out?" And I'm like, "Why?" Um, there's a very good reason why. Like, and I already know the answer. It's like, well, we could have out some nice polished ones, but I also know that not moving is a great way to make sure that things don't happen. And so putting it, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was an eye roll.
That was good. Yeah. Not moving is a great way to make sure things don't happen. Yeah.
And so I'm always like make mistakes, run into the wall. Like I said earlier, suck, keep on sucking till the suck is gone.
Yeah.
From a performer perspective, there are a lot of people who are like, I wish I could do the same things that you could do. And I was like, well, you can. He was like, well, I'm just building my show. And I was like, show me some tricks. And they show me some things. I was like, that's great. He goes, but I need a script. And he's like, just do it in front of people. You'll come up with jokes. They'll come up with the jokes for you. Don't worry about it.
Love your
And
style.
I mean, what is it? Perfection or better is the enemy of good enough. And really, you have to focus on good enough. Things will improve. Things will get better. But people have to take that leap. Like perfect isn't real. You just need to just launch with it.
Yeah.
My business
Always.
partner with online marketing, my business partner, he was a high-end executive over at ExxonMobil, and his management style is he doesn't really talk to you. So if there's a task that's yours, he will give guidance. If you have questions, he will answer the questions. But if you're over there and you make mistakes, he doesn't say, whoa, 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 you need to, let's do this bet. He'll let you make mistakes. So long as you don't light a fire and the entire business is burning down, he's happy.
Yeah.
He's like, your mistakes are yours to make. So go ahead and do it. You'll figure out a way better from this point on.
Awesome.
So you're doing a lot of virtual classes and you're offering it to people there. Is this going to be like the start of an entire line that you're going to continue to do in perpetuity? You said you already had
Absolutely.
some groundwork.
Absolutely. It's what I'm treating this as this moment, because we will reopen, this will end. I'm treating this moment right now as research. So
Perfect.
when I'm able to, yeah, so this is trial by fire. You know, we had to get it going. It's been sort of in the development phase. We had to implement super, super fast. So I feel really fortunate to be in a position where I'm able to find out what is working and what doesn't work.
Yep.
So that I have data to make the experience even better than it already is. So I anticipate, I don't know if the learning will be synchronous or asynchronous forever, maybe a little bit of both, who knows?
Right.
But you know, that I do hope like that this, it's already been on the horizon, you know, and I have thoughts on that, particularly one of my business coaches has a really, really good sort of outlook on this is video's great, video's awesome, to what end, right? So what my goal for how to use video, okay, so this is one of my business coaches was saying this, right? And she's a genius. Exercise videos have been out forever, decades.
This is exactly the question I was about to ask. What's your key differentiator?
Yeah, so these have been out for decades. One, why are they looking at yours? And more importantly, let's take note that somehow, even though exercise videos have been out for 40 years, right, almost, since the 80s, okay, people still come to brick and mortar studios. Now, how is it? Right now, you have much less overhead if you have videos. Why do people still come to brick and mortar? Right? So,
Yep.
what I think the key differentiator for Butter and Filth, here's my thought. My thought as a business owner is I don't. Can I cuss? First of all, can I cuss? Are we
It's
allowed to do that?
your show. Yeah.
It's my
That
show. Okay. I
I
don't give a.
yeah, I don't really swear. And that's because all of my friends do the swearing for me. Like
Oh,
I'm from a family of six, three boys, three girls. The girls swear, the guys don't. We don't know why. It's genetic.
so for me, as a business owner, I don't give a fuck if somebody learns how to do a fonzie, a shoulder mount, a triple sow cow, a fucking front hook spin, or how to do a backwards roll. I don't care. I don't care. That's not what's important to me. I don't find that. That's not what drives me as a business owner. What drives me is, and I learned this in the clubs, right? I learned this. This is where I learned this. Is it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how talented you are. When has talent alone been the thing that's gotten anybody anywhere? It hasn't.
We have a phrase on the circuit: hard work beats talent any day.
Boom. And so what I think, my focus is, I think that there's great opportunity to get fit. There's a great opportunity for pole dancing to like unlock things, and I want to do all of that. Like that's still something that I want to do, and I want to high five people who make that their primary focus. They're fantastic. They're amazing. I want that. What I really think the opportunity for me is to connect with other human beings and to do the valuable and essential and much less conventionally valued work of making people feel amazing and embodied through sexuality and being fucking feral heathens. You know what I'm saying? That's what I want. I want the connection. And if you have a benefit that you happen to get a six pack as well, great. I care about the mental and emotional work that people do in the spaces that Butter and Filth creates. And we don't do super formal lessons where we're not like, you have to do the front hook spin, then the invert. Like we create prompts, right? Like everything that I do is based in a prompt. Like I'm like, how does it feel to like whatever, I don't know, like I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I'm like, who are you dancing for? Are you dancing for someone else? Are you dancing for yourself? And then that's going to inform the way that you move, and then that will sort of lend itself to a more authentic methodology that someone creates themselves rather than listening to what I say. I feel like most of my clients are women. I feel like women are trained enough. I would like to differentiate myself by untraining.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. When I'm practicing, I'm very meticulous. Like, all right, first I put my foot here, then I'm going to it, and I do this until I can't get it wrong before I move on. Because I like super solid basics, because then I can just spin around and play from there, and I can always fall back on that. But after that point, it's like I have a strong foundation, and then I just mess with it. Like I like at that point stop caring. A lot of people put too much strain and stress, and that's not what that's not what exercise needs to be. I was talking to a potential partner with another project. Like I said, I've got room too. And I asked him, he's like, okay, so this is really cool, and this is a great idea. What exactly do you want? And he's like, what do you mean? It's like, well, why are you doing this? He's like, to make money. I was like, okay, no, understood. We all want to make $1 billion. So we made $1 billion. Why do you want to do this? There are better ideas. I mean, if you really want, and we write it down on paper, we can find lots of ways for you to make money, even with coronavirus, that are simpler and more direct. But why this? Because that's what I want. That's what I want to know. It's like, what is your motive? I think a more valuable conversation is hopping on with some. I mean, I'm saying it from a business perspective, business, and say, hey, here are all the things we can do. And it's like, okay, cool. So how do you feel about this?
Yeah.
Like, what motivates? Like, I had somebody earlier today, and he was a little terse, and he's like, okay, hint taken, because you haven't been mentioning it. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I understand we're all still kindergartners who are asking each other, will you be my friend? So let's talk a little bit. Like you're feeling these things, and these aren't things that you necessarily want. We want to do cool things together, so let's
Yeah.
do cool stuff.
Right.
And
Right.
like I said, not everybody can be up to like where the standards I hold myself. It's just like, I don't care, so long as you're doing something and you like it. Underwater basket weaving. Oh, all right, awesome. You want to snow removal in Miami, Florida? Go for it. If that is
Yeah.
what you're passionate about, I don't care what, but be passionate.
Right. Yes. And yeah, and I think I am personally, and I hire people who, you know, fit the mission that I'm personally incredibly motivated and in love, I think, with the fact that I could facilitate someone deepening their own relationship with themselves. That's
Yeah.
that's infinitely I can't imagine doing anything else with my life at this point.
From the sounds of it, it's like you said, it's so absolutely very fulfilling to know, hey,
Yeah.
I helped that person do this.
Yes. I mean, they did it. They did the work. All I do
Oh yeah.
is create the space, right? Yeah.
For
In physically, emotionally, mentally, right?
there was one time I was starting my SEO business right from the get-go, and I hired somebody who was to write some content because it didn't need to be great.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a great writer. He was such a great writer, and he found he liked it so much that he ended up going back to college, and now, or went going to college. He dropped out of high school and now has a bachelor's in creative writing. And for me, I was like it felt awesome, be like at just helping connect dots, and connecting dots is what motivates me.
Yeah.
Fully assured success, as people watching these videos have heard me say way too much.
Yeah.
So then to pivot slightly, it took you 4 hours to hit the ground running. And this is after a horrible tragedy where your studio literally collapsed around you.
Yeah.
So what sort of things would you like to say to like the pole community at large, perhaps studio owners specifically, some kind of advice that you have that other people would not have the same perspective of? Advice.
I think that I think any time, but especially now, a time like this, you know, I mean, I think this is always true, but it's even more true, is I think that maintaining your own, okay, let me back up for a second. Here's what I think is happening. A lot of small businesses, pole or not, run on incredibly small margins.
Yes.
Right? Incredibly small margins. And I've worked with artists. I work in higher ed. I was in graduate school and college long before that. So I've worked with artists in some capacity for 20 years. And what I have seen has not ever veered, right, from this singular path, which is as soon as panic happens, people are like, they immediately conform, right? Like they're like, fuck, I need to survive. Okay, what do you need? Do you need like, we're an athletic pole studio, and do you want twerk? We'll say, okay, twerk, done. Like, we're twerking now. And it's like, well, wait a minute. You were the athletic studio, and now that the shit's hitting the fan, you got some heels on? Like, you know, so, and that's like fear, right? And reasonably so. We could be staring down the barrel of an extremely difficult time ahead of us. What I know is that more so now than ever, it is imperative that people be themselves and know who they are, because that is the only thing that's going to carry anybody through anywhere ever. And that's for small business, that's coronavirus, that's for your fucking relationship with your boo, you know, that like, you know what I'm saying? That's just life. Like what I can guarantee is that if you fake it, and I mean, I'm not talking about epically failing and like I hate it when people say fake it till you make it. I'm like, well, no, I'm not faking any of this. Like, none of it's fake. It's just failure. But it's damn sure not fake. In fact, it's more real than you believe. But
unfortunate that fail is a 4-letter F word.
Yes. I hate it. I hate it. So, but I think that's what I would say is know who you are. Know who you are and do that.
That's
Yeah.
That's absolutely 100% perfect. When all of this is very chaotic, which I just found out it's not pronounced quixotic, but chaotic. Thank
Not
you.
chaotic.
Yeah, chaotic meaning Don Quixote.
I thought you. Okay, go ahead.
No, yeah. With everything shutting down in a funny way. All right, there's a little of me maliciously being happy I work from home, and now everybody has to. So now they're just like, yeah, it's right. Also be distracted.
Yeah.
But on another level, I'm saying, guys, this is don't if you're born to be shot, you'll never be hung. So don't worry about money. Which is not to say to quote I like quoting people. One of my aunts, God doesn't drive parked cars, which means you still have to show up. You still have to be trying, but you don't worry about it. Just kind of let go and take this time, like you said, to deepen a relationship with Boo. This is a great opportunity to just explore, do all the things that you always wanted to do, but never had a chance. Write a book, go for a walk, go for go for a giant bike ride, like some kind of creative project to really make you as a person feel better, and then channel that into different projects. I hadn't thought about the twerking aspect.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, channel it into a fucking grind, man. Like,
Yeah.
and don't stop. Like, you like, don't ever quit when you're tired. You quit when you're done. And, but there's a lot of like really sort of like crunchy stuff going around about saying that like that's toxic, which I'm super critical of.
Oh yeah. And
Like I'm super super critical of that notion and idea, because I think it places folks like you and it casts us as like capitalist villains, right? I mean, if I was a true capitalist, I wouldn't own a pole studio.
what I always
Because if you want, for the volume of hours I work, I can.
what I always say, and I mentioned this when I was speaking to somebody, a pole studio owner who's a statistician. I said, look, I don't need to be right. I just want to be correct. I just want to know the way things are. And because I don't like something doesn't change what is. And I have to acknowledge both parts. What is, what am I going to do about it? What am I willing to do about it? And knowing where that line is. And I have a very strong line in the sand of, I shall not cross this, which I know other people will happily, easily cross. Yeah, I agree. A lot of people say, "Hey, keep on grinding, or you don't stop when it's." And they say it is an unhealthy thing. And honestly, they don't understand that part of the grind is just sitting down, staring at a yard with grass, and just thinking.
Yeah, that is work.
Having a pen and a piece of paper and just journaling, which is the best way to have a conversation with yourself. Yeah. That also counts it.
Agreed. And I think that also that, especially now, that sort of that type of mentality, I think, I mean, I question how much privilege it takes. I come a lot of my process and my business experiences and the way that I operate is informed by growing up in extreme poverty, right? And saying like, oh, just stop and like go with the flow and productivity and like this is actually a bad thing and it's super capitalist. I think again, a business coach that I know was talking the other day about the gift of poverty. And I've never really had my history and experiences framed in such a way that it's been called the gift. It's a huge major source of trauma for me. One that has definitely informed the way that I approach people, business, money, and creativity, time and space. It's informed it in a really, really good way. But yeah, I think that the idea of slowing down and number one, I agree, staring at a wall is work. That is absolutely work, because I think for me as an artist, as a creative, what I need the most in my life is time and space to
Yes.
get ideas, right? And then I can like go. Yeah, I think it takes a lot of privilege to say to say.
I mean, even to slightly soften that, it's not even a privilege so much as it is people hear this and they get into these ways of thinking,
Mhm.
and it can be hard to break that. So it can be privilege. It can also be they don't under. Um, I mean, again, to empathize, I did not grow up in extreme poverty, but when I went to join the circuit and be a performer. Without getting into too many numbers, I went from not really having to worry because I was kind of a man child to suddenly not having a lot. Literally living in a tent, and if I moved, it would be a slightly better tent. I mean, I learned how to tarp like a mofo. It's really is an art. But on
Yeah.
top of that, it's what kept me hungry. Like if I wasn't uncomfortable, I wasn't moving, and that's what needed to happen. Like anytime I need to do something, I remove like I make myself a little uncomfortable. No,
Discomfort is a gift.
yes, I have my like thank you Destiny. She changes all my Steam passwords. It logs out of Netflix. She's the only person with these things. No going out to eat. I have a super strict diet that I'll adhere to, and then I will like reward myself. Okay, this time I'm going to X or Y or Z. But if I'm not uncomfortable, then I don't want things. If I don't want things, I'm not moving.
Absolutely.
All right. So, do you have any final words before I kind of cap this off here? I've really enjoyed chatting.
Yeah, I did too. I think that I think that I would end it. I mean, of course, nobody's perfect, right? Nobody's perfect, but I think that now is the best time to treat people well and right and kind. I think
I
I think these
agree.
are unprecedented times, and I think that any grace that is extended to you, you need to extend to the person down, like the next person, like down the line.
Pay it
Um,
forward.
I think that more so now than ever, our creativity, innovation, and work ethic is going to really be tested, and also our capacity to be kind to others. Maybe that's more important than creativity. I don't know, kindness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a hundred. I think that's beautiful, and I completely agree, utterly. I want to chat with you for a couple minutes after we finish, but for now, uh, thank you very much for coming on, and I hope to chat with you on another one of these. See you, Nia.
I would love to. See ya.